Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Today we are going to be talking about navigating betrayal, and my guest is Lora Cheadle. Lora is a very unique and strong woman. Of course, I love those types of women, right? So she is a betrayal recovery coach, a legal consultant, a best-selling author of the book Flaunt, and international speaker. She's also the host of a podcast called Flaunt, so you can catch all of that. We'll put the links at the end. And she is a true mentor and guide through the deeply personal journey of coming to terms with infidelity. So we're going to talk about that today and how to heal from that. And welcome to the podcast, Lora. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to being here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you are here. Why don't we start with you telling us how you got involved in helping people through betrayal so they can heal?
Yeah. Well, sadly, it was because of my own infidelity story. After 23 years of what I thought was a really solid, healthy, happy marriage, I was completely devastated when I found out that my husband had been cheating for 15 years with multiple women. And clearly I needed help. I needed a lot of help. And there wasn't the kind of help that I needed out there. So after I went through all of the healing, that's when I started really creating what I wish I would have had then.
Yeah, that's such a powerful thing. I mean, I had the same experience not with infidelity, but with my healing. And I love that people like you can come from that and really just have that inside knowledge so you can give people the tools to move forward. It's really a wonderful thing because you've been there. So.
It is. It's really, It's not great to have to walk through the dark times, but we all do. And it's so healing to be able to make something of it and to give people some of those shortcuts along the way, because the mistakes I made, I'm sure the mistakes you made too, we can help guide other people so they don't have to make those same mistakes.
Exactly. So true. So this is an interesting concept when you and I first were chatting, and it is the idea that most people think of betrayal as cheating, as only cheating, and they don't realize, including myself when we were speaking, and then it all dawned, the light bulb kind of went off, but you say there's another way to define betrayal. So why don't you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Betrayal is the breaking of an expectation that you have relied on, that ruptures your view of yourself or the world or the way you think things should be. So on a global level, 9/11 and the COVID pandemic, those were big betrayals because all of a sudden we're like, whoa, is the world safe? Can I rely on what I thought I could rely on? And the answer is no. And that's a betrayal because it ruptures your view of the world. In divorce, even if there is no infidelity, if you think I'm going to get married and I'm going to live happily ever after and we're going to work through things, and then all of a sudden that's not happening, that can be a betrayal too, because it ruptures the narrative. It ruptures the story you have going on in your head. And then you start viewing yourself a little bit differently. Am I okay? Am I making the right decision? Did I fail? What's going to happen to me? All of those are examples of betrayal.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's powerful because like I said before, I asked the question, so many of us don't think of that. And what I see in my practice is a lot of people in that kind of mode where they've created this story. And interestingly, I see also a lot of men who have that that story that, she left me, especially when we're talking about gray divorce or older divorce, because a lot of those divorces are initiated by women. And so I see a lot of that. And it's this story that we create, right? And we all create stories. We all create fantasy. We all create whatever it is, and about many different topics throughout our lives. So the thing is we need to learn to not be defined by those stories. And we need to learn that we can create new stories. So I love that you're bringing to light the fact that there are so many little betrayals, not just an infidelity betrayal, because I think that opens doors for people to understand their feelings better.
It does.
Right?
It absolutely does. And I appreciate that you talked also about all those little feelings and about the narrative and about the story, because we get so locked into thinking, if something happens, then something else happens.
Yeah.
If this happens, then I'm a victim. If this happens, then and what I really like to say to people is, perhaps you were victimized, whether it's infidelity, betrayal, any number of things. But you are the one that gets to define yourself afterwards. You can be victimized and not be a victim. You can be left, but not be a loser. You can initiate the divorce and not be breaking up the family. You define what your actions mean.
That is pure empowerment. And I love that we teach people this, because I love when I see you probably have the same experience when I see that light bulb go off in someone's head, like, oh, I have a choice. It's empowering, right? It's wonderful. So yes, I absolutely love that. Why don't we talk a little bit about what feelings betrayal can lead to within our bodies, our minds, our spirit, and what happens when we experience all these feelings and we don't really learn to deal with them?
I'm so glad you asked. Betrayal brings up so many different feelings. First and foremost, what people say to me is, I feel so broken. My heart has been shattered. My soul has been shattered. I feel broken. I can't believe that happened to me. And right after that, then they go, I'm so stupid. I am so stupid. How could I have been so stupid? So what betrayal does is it first crushes you because you're so shocked. But then after that, it causes you to start looking inward and internalize. And the reason we look inward and internalize is we truly are the only ones who can control how we feel. So when we're feeling so bad, we think, I need to gain control again by self-assessing and figuring out what I did wrong. And the little catch with betrayal, you didn't do anything wrong. You can't control it. It happens to you. Sadly, it's usually a betrayal because it's somebody that you loved and trusted. And then you have to work through that realization that I don't have control over everything. Bad things do happen to good people. And that leads into grief. And then from that grief comes a huge sense of empowerment when you realize I don't have to have control over everything. I can handle the bad things that happen to me. Bad things probably will happen. That's life. And I am resourced enough to deal with it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And it's so true. And I think that whole issue of control, and as humans, so many of us want to be in control, but we're really not. We're really subject to so many forces. We can't control the weather. We can't control other people. We can't control who's driving toward us in a car. We can't control, there's so many things, whether we get sick, whether we're healthy. So I love that idea of helping people realize that they're not in control, but in a sense they are in control of changing their lives through choices and through acceptance and through learning how to deal with the feelings. But there will always be so much we can't control. And so we need to learn to work and manage our own lives around that, right? And just...
Oh, yeah. And that's so much of it too. Where do you feel these in your body? How can you stop and start identifying? I'm feeling grief and it feels like it's in my head. I'm feeling shattered and it feels like it's in my heart. I'm feeling this panic because I don't have control and it's in my shoulders. Just being able to identify what it is you're feeling, where you're feeling it. And then the next part of that is, and what am I going to do about it? Because just like you were saying, realizing, accepting that things can happen is such a powerful place. Because now what can I control and what can I do? And I am a big believer, I'm a somatic attachment therapist. And what somatics basically means is moving the body to process emotion. And that's one of the most powerful things we can do. If you feel like shaking, shake. If you feel like running, run. If you feel like punching a pillow and crying, do it, but move your body, dance it out, move it out, shake it out, identify where it is. It's in my neck. Move your shoulders, move your, it's in my gut. Ooh, deep breaths, move my gut.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've actually had a whole podcast on dancing to heal. And I just tell people this all the time, that we have to move, because I think the tendency when people are sad or fearful or depressed or whatever, something bad, happened to them, you just want to curl up in this ball. You want to sit on the couch and just binge watch something while you're eating potato chips or, whatever it is. Everybody has their own coping mechanisms. But the actual fact is that energy is just sitting there. It's like if you eat a bag of potato chips and it just goes down into your gut and it sits there, right? So you have to move. And I tell people, not only should you move, but get outside if you can, get in nature. Even if you don't have a park or a lake or an ocean, go to a tree and stand under a tree. You can, it is so helpful to embrace these things, the movement and the nature, and it just calms the body and it calms the soul, which helps with your spirituality as well. So I love it. It's great. Yeah, great
absolutely. Advice. And I really love that you mentioned too, you want to curl up in a ball, because all of my work is built around flaunt. And just that word flaunt is the opposite of curling up in a ball. And sometimes just that awareness of this is what I want to do, but healing is on the other side of that. Raise your chest, lift up your head, pull your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and you'll feel better.
Yeah. When I think of flaunting, I think of just this very confident woman strutting, and that's such a great word, because really that's what the goal is. We want to get to our version of that very confident woman or man, and who through life, like all of us, has been through things, but can move forward with that poise and that grace and that whatever. I love it. It's just a great place to aspire to go. And let's talk about using betrayal as an excuse, because we kind of just, touched upon that as an excuse to curl into yourself, as an excuse to not go out, as an excuse to let yourself go and not exercise and dress, in your ripped sweatpants and all those things. But why? Again, you did mention this, but we can kind of touch on it again. Why? How does it harm us to use that betrayal as an excuse for us to just not flaunt and not become the best we can be?
Yeah. Oh, another really juicy question. First of all, it's okay if you want to curl up in a ball and cry for a tiny bit of time. Let your feelings flow, feel the grief. Yeah. But here's what hit me. And this is what I want everybody to think about. Somewhere along the line in my betrayal recovery journey, it hit me. If I limit myself, they've won. I already gave 15 years, to this cheating situation that I didn't know what was happening. I've already lost, quote unquote, all of this stuff. Why would I give them another minute of my life? I get one life and they're not hurting me. In fact, when I found out, the affairs were already over. It was already past history. So yes, I had to go through a lot, but anything else, I was just hurting myself. And quite frankly, I love myself. I love my life. I want to experience joy. I want to play with my kids. I want to have grandkids. I want to dance. I want to sing. I want to travel. I want to play. And if I cut that out for myself, I mean, I can, that's my choice.
Right.
Why would I? Why would I?
Yeah. And you hit upon the gold. I mean, the $1 million reward, right, is loving yourself. And that's the end game. That's the goal, is really learning how to do that. Because once you learn how to love yourself, you want to feel all those feelings. But when you learn how to love yourself, you're not going to stay curled up in this ball. You're not going to think you're unworthy. You're not going to think you're going to be grateful. You're going to be in love with life. And that's how you heal.
Yeah. And then also, like, on the other side of that, what would it have changed? What would it change for other people? Like, nothing. I'm the only person I was hurting. So if I use it as an excuse, it doesn't make my husband suffer. It doesn't make the other women suffer. It hurts everybody. Yeah. And I'm not about hurting everybody.
Yeah. And like you said, then you're giving more time you're losing more time when you could be living this amazing, beautiful life by just withdrawing inward and, not learning how to love yourself. So yeah, it's preaching to the choir. I love it.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Yeah. What are the steps? This is a great one that you teach clients in order to get over the chokehold of betrayal and move on.
Yeah.
Juicy stuff.
It is juicy stuff. And of course, it's all in the acronym FLAUNT. So it's easy to remember what that end goal is. The first step, the F, stands for find your fetish. And I love the word fetish because it's a little bit naughty, and it's not like find your joy, find what you like. It's like, no, find what you love. And that's part of reclaiming who you were. Like you mentioned dance. I used to be a dancer. As a little girl, I loved to dance. I loved to dress up. Did I do that as a wife and mom? Nope. So it's finding those things: creativity, joy, dance, sports, friends, going out to lunch, hiking, biking, kayaking. Find whatever it is that brings you joy and prioritize that. This was what I fell into. What are you doing? What is your schedule? What's happening? If there was room, I filled myself in the cracks instead of finding your fetish and living your life for you. The next step in FLAUNT is L, and that stands for laugh out loud. Laughter, according to the Mayo Clinic, is the #1 way to calm and re-regulate the nervous system. So when you're stressed, no, it doesn't feel sometimes congruent to find something humorous. But if you do, you'll get your brain back. You'll get your body back. You'll release some tension and you'll feel better and you'll be able to make more decisions. And it's fun to laugh. The next step in FLAUNT is AU, and I call that the golden center of FLAUNT. And you had mentioned these words earlier: accepting. AU stands for accept unconditionally. There is so much time and effort wasted on what coulda, woulda, shoulda happened and what I coulda, woulda, shoulda done. Accepting where you are at is where it all begins. And I know it hurts to be like, I had a horrible divorce. I feel like I've been betrayed. I've lost all of these things. But when you get real about where you're at, that's where you start moving forward. I need help. I need a coach. I need a lawyer. I need this. You've got to get real. Accepting unconditionally is where it starts. After that, the next step in FLAUNT is N, for navigate the negative. I think there's this narrative in our culture that healing and self-growth and all of that is from point A to point B. And it's just not like that. We go up, we go down, we go around, we have internal resistance. We hire a therapist that we don't end up liking and we find a new one. We shift over here, we change our mind, whatever it is. It's navigating. It's putting one foot in front of the other and pivoting where you need to pivot and taking a break where you need to take a break. And then the very, very last step in FLAUNT is one of my favorites. And that's T for trust in your truth. Only you know how you feel, what your heart says, what your head says. Please get help. Please get resources. Please listen to podcasts and then see how it feels for you. Because you are the only one that knows you and what might be right for you. And you've been living in your body and your skin and your relationship. And don't be afraid to go against the grain. I actually ended up getting back together with my husband at the end of the day after the cheating. Do you think that's a popular choice? No, it's not a popular choice, but my head, my heart, my soul knew that's what I needed to do. And I had to trust it for me because it was my life. And 7 years later, we're in a better place. So trust yourself.
Yeah. That's all such incredible advice. I do want to say something about the T, the trust. And the thing is, and as you know, and you're well aware, a lot of this comes down to support networks as well, because sometimes people have all these people that love them, but they're not the right support networks. And they do tell them, instead of when somebody truly loves you and wants to help you heal, they're not going to tell you what they think you should do because they're not you. And you pointed that out so beautifully, that only you know you. And we have to find the right people who will let us make our own choices and who will applaud us. Even they may not agree. They may think, hey, if I were in her position, I would never do that. But that doesn't matter. They shouldn't be pushing that on you. And it's really hard, especially in certain, culture, religion, family aspects where, because we've all been programmed since we were little pretty much that, divorce is bad. It's wrong. It's immoral. We don't do it. I mean, some cultures, you don't get divorced. And we've all also been programmed to believe that marriage is all about that, home with the little white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the little, so beautiful and perfect. And so a lot of times when we come out of that or when it's falling apart, we feel this sense of failure. And so much of that comes from outside and from how we were raised. And sometimes we don't even realize it. It's almost like a brainwashing, right? So I love that idea of really trusting. And I would take it even a step further to getting some help learning how to tune into your intuition. Absolutely. And because not everybody knows how to do that, but we all have it. We all are intuitive beings. But yeah, so I love all of your letters and your acronym and all of the great tips that you have. So you and I, we are in a very similar, we come from a similar place and we have similar backgrounds too, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I really appreciate that you brought in intuition because it's true. We're all seeking things outside of ourselves. And sure, it would be wonderful if there was this oracle that could come down and be like, do this, do that, and the other thing. But that's just not the case. And it's a cultural paradigm shift also to go inward and to access your own wisdom. And it's also, but there's also a lot of fear surrounding that journey inward. And I think that's why so many people are not successful in healing by themselves because it's scary. It's scary to people to go inward. And it's also scary to challenge those ideals that you were raised with, possibly. Right. And to go against the, what Aunt Sally says, or your grandma or your mom, or your priest or whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of not just fear, but just like I said, I mean, just the shame that comes with it. So you need some help sometimes to go and take that journey inward, and it's okay to get help and it's okay to need help. So trust yourself. And I really think, the help, I like that you said that it's imperative because other people see things in us than we don't see in ourselves. And other people, like we were saying earlier, have been down this path and they know things to look out for because you don't know what you don't know. And there is nothing more valuable than having somebody just asking you loving questions, not from a place of having an agenda, but from a place of how can I get you to lean into your curiosity instead of your fear? How can I ask you questions that will open up possibility and potential instead of catastrophizing things?
Yeah, so true. It's all wonderful advice. So why don't you tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you? So I want everyone to be able to connect with you and your amazing advice and your book and your podcast. So let us know where we can reach you online.
Thank you. Yes, I would love to connect with anybody who's just even curious about what do you mean by betrayal? My website is loracheadle.com, and Lora is spelled Lora, which is a different spelling, but LoraCheadle. And I've got a betrayal recovery toolkit. If you are experiencing some sort of betrayal, I highly recommend grabbing that. It's an instant download, and you can find that at betrayalrecoveryguide.com. My podcast is also Flaunt, Create a Life You Love After Infidelity or Betrayal. And you're going to be a guest on it fairly soon. So you'll definitely want to check that out. It's anywhere podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, I'm around.
Okay. And they can also access that on your website, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I remember seeing
my
that
website,
there.
I've got podcast link and it's all there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. This has been such great information. And I know, once again, so many people feel so much shame when they've been, cheated on or when they feel they've been betrayed. And so it's really nice to know that there definitely are ways to heal. So reach out to Lora if you need some further help. And thank you for being here, Lora. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely.